Welcome to everybody. Good morning. This is the third course of the learning program Achieving Green Living Areas, going from building, cities, and territory. So today we will start the third phase of these three series of courses, and it will be dedicated mainly to circular economy and how to address at a territorial scale some of the strategies linked to agri-food sector. So I'm just to desire you a fruitful session and give the floor to Maria Caldero, that she's coordinating this course. And any doubt that you could have, please raise your doubts and send us any kind of a question that you could have. My name is Cynthia Chavez. Sorry, I didn't present myself. So on behalf of all the team, we welcome you to this course. Thank you. Maria, the floor is yours.
Maybe Patricio, do you want to go?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Maria, and thank you, Cynthia, for the welcome. So my name is Patricia, and I'm the head of communication at the Green Growth Community. And today, as you can see here, we are going to focus on reducing the carbon footprint in the agri-food sector. And we want to put the focus on the territorial connectivity. We come from looking at the very local scale, from buildings to cities, and today we start the course on territorial connectivity. And what does it mean? The idea is that we start thinking about how can we improve the proximity of the products that we consume, about how we can make more informed choices when we buy some products. And today we want to focus specifically on schools and the food that the kids consume at schools, and how we can make this more efficient, of course, in the resources that are involved in the whole value chain of these products, and ultimately how can we reduce the CO2 emissions along this value chain. So we want to tackle this issue from a holistic and systemic approach. We want to provide you with opportunities to find out how to take action, how to influence policies, and how to use the tools that the Green Growth Community has been advancing with the projects on the ground. So I think this is a very good opportunity to get from first-hand experience how we can really find out about the barriers to improve the agri-food sector, and how we can come up with solutions that can really change the way that we are really looking into the different products. Maria will explain the format of the course briefly, but we want to really put the focus on the local strategies and the links with the EU Green Deal strategies, the farm to fork strategy that it's called. So today we have an agenda that focuses on the circular economy context. It focuses on sustainability in the agri-food production, of course, tackling the Mediterranean region, the MED countries. We are using a tool that it's called the Value Chain Canvas with our colleagues from Circonact, and we will be doing an interactive exercise for you to play and to discover how to use this tool with the Mural platform. So at the end of the course, you will present your presentations with Canva, and we will be also looking at another tool that it's called the Partners Map that will help you to understand proximity and to complement the Value Chain Canvas. And we will finalize with a wrap-up to see if you have any questions that you would like to raise, and how we can really help you over the next week to fill this canvas. So over to you, Maria. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay, so I am Maria, and probably you may have already checked the Moodle platform, but just to recap about the course content, within this Green Living Territories challenge, and under the context that Patricia said of reducing the impact of what we eat, you will encounter the following blocks. There is a quick introductory video, and then the policy acceptance, which you have to read and sign at the beginning to have access to the other blocks. And then there is the live event Zoom links and the agendas. And today we are in the launching course 3. And then you have 6 4-minute e-lessons, followed by a short quiz to test yourself, as well as supplementary information. and also the team work block where you have instructions and explanation about how to upload the assignment, as well as the forum. The forum is very important to communicate between us, and today I already tried to put a message. Hopefully you receive it, and let us know if you don't. And the final pitch live session details. And regarding the timeline, all sessions will be recorded, as now we just said, and materials will be available for a couple of months after the closing date, the 13th of July. Nevertheless, we encourage you to be active during the open days, so everything is more fruitful. And the course opened last Monday, and you can go over the lessons, the quiz, and supplementary information. And today we are in the interactive live session, where you will also discover the assignment. And then you will have until next Tuesday to work on the assignment and exchange questions and ideas through the forum. And the following Wednesday, there will be the pitching session where you will have time to present what you have been working on, as well as listen to the FEFMED Plus project work done in this field. And then there will be the final Green Living Areas course closure. And maybe now, Valentina, you want to just briefly present the team?
Thank you, Maria. Valentina from QM, the Green Growth Community. In order to conclude our brief presentation, I would like to briefly sum up our educational team for the Green Living Areas course. As you already know, during the course, you will be guided by a very strong team. For the live session and above, you will have Vanessa and Andreas, co-founders and CEO from CirConnect. CirConnect is a non-profit organization promoting the implementation of circular economy. They are consultants, trainers, and mentors for project management and sustainability economy, and they will guide you during these 2 live sessions and above. From the expert side, as I already mentioned before, we have 2 experts from FEFMED Plus project, Maurizio Notarfonso from Federalimentare Servizi and leading and managing EU-funded project in the agri-food sector. You will meet him also in live session, next live session 13th, and Ruth Agord from Sadgat project manager, who will represent the Embrace project. You will have the opportunity to meet both of them during the e-lessons, the 5th and the 2nd one. From the managing side, we also have Merce Boirura, who is the coordinator of the Interreg Euro-MED Green Growth Community, and is head of the Governance for Sustainability Unit at Beta Technological Center at the University of Vic. And Gaetano Zarlenga, Managing Director at QAIM, leading the community building activities related to the Interreg Green Growth Project. And for the operational side, also we have me from QAIM and for community building activities for the Green Growth Project. Patricia Carbone Rodriguez, head of the communication for the Green Growth Project, but also for the communication activities regarding our course. And Maria Caldera Pasquale from the University of Vic, coordinating the management of our course from the UVic side and the Green Growth Community. I hope to be very short. Enjoy.
Maybe we pass the floor to Andreas and Vanessa.
Yeah, thank you very much for this introduction. And yeah, we are happy to be here and to, first of all, we would like to get to know you also a little bit. So feel free to, write in the chat where you're from and what brings you here. And
while you're doing that, we can present ourselves. Thanks again also for the invitation and welcome everyone also from my side. I hope you can still see me because I can't see me anymore.
No.
Okay, technical issue. Yes, welcome from my side. So I'm Andreas and I'll let Vanessa present herself until I found my camera back.
Okay, it's great yeah, as you already heard, I'm Vanessa and Andreas. We're from CirConnect. It's a circular innovation organization based in Vienna and operating in Europe and in other countries around the world, developing with companies and regions circular and regenerative sustainable solutions. And great. We see already that there's like a lot of participants from different kind of backgrounds and countries in France and Spain, and feel free to switch on your camera. Then we also have more interaction, and we can walk through the 1.5 hours a little bit during this journey throughout the value and supply chain and how to make it green living territories. So how many of you like to live in green living territories? Feel free to raise the hand. And we just start with the presentation, and showing during this course, we show you how a circular economy can contribute to this green living territories. And we start basically at the beginning. Before industrialization, humans lived in line with nature. So then we developed the linear development model, which is the negative impact of it we have not seen and felt that much, because it was still less people and the human economy was less. And now we are currently outgrowing the resources. So there's it's limited resources. It's really harming the environment and human health and well-being and economy. So what does it actually mean, this linear development model? It means that our operations are based on extracting raw materials and manufacturing products that we are putting together and using, and then putting on to waste. So the problem with that is that on two sides. On one side, the extraction of the resources, which puts a lot of pressure on the environment, and also on the resilience of economies like we see right now. We are dependent on resources that are far away, and on the other side we have massive waste generation. So it's again also harming the health of the ecosystem, and we are shipping it to other countries, but we don't get rid of it. Although if we look at this here, it's just resources at the wrong place. So, and also as the linear economy model contributes to raising CO2 emission, because there's studies that show that with a circular system, we can decrease carbon emissions by 50%. And of course, the loss of biodiversity, which is especially important for the agriculture sector. The bees, for example, they are decreasing all around the world, and they are so necessary for our food production. So for our living in China, for example, there's a huge problem with that, and they are going with a truck from field to field to pollinate the field. So it is important for our survival to make sure that the animals survive as well. And so what we are now to do is actually to develop regenerative and circular systems. So where a world where people live aligned with environment and the economy is supportive to that. So what does it mean exactly? A circular economy is based on extracting materials in a way, materials that are regrowing, like renewable energy, renewable sources, or if it's not a renewable source, it is important to keep it in the cycle as long as possible. And this means to develop the product, to reuse it, to repair it, to remake it, to design it already in a way that all the resources can be reused again after the end of this product's life. So we differentiate between two cycles. The biological cycle, this is for products that are biodegradable, especially in the farming sector. You see it very, very clear. It can be like waste from the agri-food sector can be composted, can be reused again for growing plants. And then there's the technical cycle that is, for example, the machines used for farming, and there it is important to if they're broken, or to maintain them as well as possible. And according to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, it's the institution that is leading in the field of circular economy. They define circular economy that it's moving beyond the make waste industrial model and redefine growth, a growth that is positive for the whole society, that is regenerating natural systems, and that is building economic, natural and social capital. And how to do that is really to start at the beginning to design out waste. So like what we are going to do today along the value and supply chain, we look at it and see how can we best develop solutions for each step and minimize waste, and to keep products and materials in use. So regenerative circular economy is a way to look at economic development that really is benefits the people, the economy, and the environment, and to live connected to nature in green living territories, and to keep resources circulating in the system using renewable sources, and including and empowering people to do so, to develop and reach all these goals together. So the core principles of a circular economy for the agri-food sector is waste is food for another species. So the circular economy is based on the life's principles. This means that in nature you don't see actually waste, because every resource that is not needed by a species, it is used by someone else. And we can see this, for example, in the case or company Taisi, and it's a fruit and jam company that we are going to work on later in our exercise. And they are a company based in Spain that is really well known for sustainable fruit and jam production. And in their case, the substances that they don't need anymore, or that are not used in the jam directly, they can compost and use either in their own processes and plantations of fruits, or give it to other suppliers. And another important principle is to leverage local resources. So it is, for example, the sustainable meat company Carnissima. They only provide meat that is coming from Spain, and they're very well known for their sustainable meat production. And why is it so important to stay local? So in this case, it's the most fresh food and the most healthy, and also the closer the loops are, and this is the more sustainable it is. It gives more resilience to a community, to a country, to be self-sufficient. And also, of course, it's good for the climate because the distances are closer, and it gives local jobs and bringing life to the community, and people see also where the food is coming from. So this makes it a lot more tangible. So, and another principle is to cooperate with mutual benefits, because not even the biggest company in the world can be circular and flourish completely alone, because it is necessary to look at the value chain and see with who we can work together from the production through distribution until to the end use. And these corporations, it's very important that it's mutually beneficial. And yeah, and so this the benefits of a circular economy are that on an economical level, you can save, according to a study of JP Morgan Private Bank, $4.5 trillion annually. And you can also save 1.3 billion of tons of food waste. And why does the European Union put an emphasis on that? Is like 20% of the total food produced in the EU is lost, and this is just losing resources, losing economical and resources, and also putting environmental and social pressures. And it's also a circular economy also creates a lot of jobs and is contributing to the environment, which is basically the basis of a healthy society and economy. So this is why the European Union has developed the Circular Economy Action Plan, and that's one of the core topics is the food and agriculture sector. And they have also developed the farm to fork strategy, which is really looking specifically at the food and waste, food loss and waste prevention, at the sustainable food production and sustainable food processing and the consumption level. And promote that and support that with the legal frameworks on an EU level. And it is important to adopt that from the national governments and to implement it. So we all have a role to play to make this happen. And it starts actually, in our kitchen, in the kitchen of the school that we are going to look at and be part of this. So how can we develop actually a sustainable agri-food sector? So here it starts actually from growing food responsibly. So to nourish the soil, to have a healthy soil, and to save water resources, and to embrace organic and regenerative farming, and to protect the biodiversity. And it is also important to look at responsible sourcing along the supply chain. So to work with multiple sources for a higher, and this offers a higher resilience to diversify, and to build sustainable partnerships and partnerships that support you to flourish. And one partnerships like with partners that are as close as possible, which is called nearshoring, and people and look at the things like that people and environment are in the center, and how can we develop a system together that is supporting that. And of course, the use of digital tools are supporting, are very beneficial for that. And also the and on the consumption level and distribution, it is important to look at the sustainable packaging and zero waste. So it is good to prioritize biodegradable packaging and to really avoid single-use plastics. And there's like already great technical solutions and startups that are offering very good packaging solutions. And whilst packaging, it is also important to look at the size and the weight of the shipping, and also to design that all of that can be reused, and to look at things with and having in mind, how can this waste be actually a resource, and how can we create wealth through that? So how can we work with others? For who can it be beneficial? And develop networks according to that. And yeah, and how this can look like exactly at the circular value chain for food and also in practice. Andreas will tell us more about that.
And before I do that, thank you, Vanessa. Before I do that, I'd like to give you the chance to breathe and reflect a little bit and get to know some people, because for the ones who are live here on the course, there should be a chance also to meet fellow students and other people. So I have set up some breakout sessions so that you are together with 2 or 3 people, and you only have 3 minutes. So just a brief introduction, who you are and why are you in the course, what's interesting you in circular economy, and then we'll be back here and look at value chains.
Hello. Just one thing to say. One moment, please. We are students from the Beta Center. We are working here, and we are in the same room, my friend and I. So do you think we could be in the same virtual room? Because if we talk at the same time, it will be really messy, because we are in the same room. He's just here. We live as roommates here in Vic. So in the same virtual room, you know, here in Zoom.
I will move you to the room. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Let's carry on with the recording, and yeah, I hope you had the chance to meet someone new, or briefly at least, or breathe. And then let's have a look, Vanessa, if you can share again. Then we will have a look at the value chains, because that's the topic for today, and that's what you'll be working on also in your assignment, to really understand better the value chain for circular food. So that's a brief introduction for you, also to get a better understanding. And it's not in presentation mode yet, Vanessa. Thanks. So if we go to the next slide, our point is for this purpose, of course, you can do a lot of value chain evaluation. What we want to focus on for this element is really to look at the ecosystem. So we are not just looking at the food, which you see in the center. We are not just looking at the business model of one company, but we want to look at the Mediterranean region, as you can see on the top. We want to look at food, animal-based and plant-based, and we want to look at local places where people eat. So is it university, a canteen, a school? So think about that when you develop also your solution, and we will show you a little bit what's the input. So we want to take this, because for, let's say, to really get circular solutions, you need to look at the entire system. You cannot optimize just one part and then forget the others. So if we look at the overall system on the next page, we will see what is the value chain for food. So we took the example of value chain canvas, which you will also find in which you also saw in the introduction and which you can find, and we look at the different steps. So first step is always how to design the ecosystem. So how do I want to, with which partners do I want to work overall? The next step is, where do the nutrients come from? Where do the raw materials come from? Do they come from farms? Do they come from further away? Is it fruit? Is it animals? What is actually the part we are eating? The next step would be all the preparation and processing, which is on site. So first the extraction, if it's for example, if it's an animal, of course, it will be slaughtered and it will be already processed. And sometimes it's industrial processing you can look at. So there, and for all of these parts, then the task will be, how can you improve the way you're doing it? How can you make it more circular? And making it more circular is, on the one side, to look at where does the food come from. On the other side, how is it produced, with which facilities, how it is transported. Let me just mute. Yeah. So how is it transported, with which equipment is it processed? So that's there you may find some ways. Then the whole distribution and delivery, how does it get to the places where it will be eaten and where it will be cooked? Maybe there's some final cooking and eating. That's the consumption, so that's the use phase. How can you improve that so that there's less waste, for example, when producing? There's still some noise. Let me see. Yeah, please, if you're not talking, go on mute. So how can you improve that you have less waste when you're really eating and when you're preparing it? And also at the preparing, there may be some, you're peeling some oranges or something like that. What happens to this part? Then the question is for reuse, which is, of course, repairing the food is difficult. But when we look at how can parts which haven't been eaten, how can they be reused? How can they be shared? So you maybe have some public, so you may have passed on the food to someone else, to other locations, and we have that in different areas. We are from Vienna here. Of course, there's a lot of food sharing activities going on in our side. So I think that's also in the other parts of the world. And then the next step will be, how is the waste and also the packaging, which was included in the food, how is that collected and recovered? Can we use it for something else? And for the next use, for example, what happens like in bread, for example, the rest of bread is sometimes used to brew beer. And that is something where you say, okay, what are the leftovers? What are things which are currently being burned, or they could be composted, for example. That's also one next use. So how can you use it in the most valuable way? How can you save the value in the best way? And our question to that would be, and that's also something you can post in the chat, what do you see as the biggest challenges along the value chain in your environment? So what's the what are the main challenges you see? Just quickly write it down in the chat on which area do you see it, because we have a huge amount of food waste. Of course, you will find also in the supplementary information in the course. We don't want to go to that in a moment, but usually, yeah, it's more 20 to 30% of the food which is actually grown and produced is being wasted on the way. At some point in the value chain, it gets lost. So the food waste, yeah. Then we've got reduced packaging plastic waste coming with food. And there are also some, so for these, there are some really good solutions, yeah. Any other things where you see the production of the food itself? Yes, the more, let's say, the more industrial the food is grown, the more maybe pesticides are used. So it's also a question when you are looking at the food at the origin, how healthy is it? Because we should use healthy food. We shouldn't use contaminated and toxic food. And the lack of knowledge how to reduce or waste or compost, that's also something which, yeah, in some areas is a question. And yeah, closing possible circuits at territorial level, that's a very important thing, because food is not something we should transport all over the globe. The best, and in general, the best for the circular economy is, of course, to have local circles. And that's something you can see here, using biodegradable packaging. That's also something very helpful. And let's have a look what are some practices maybe which can inspire you when you will think about the value chain. And I use practices I know, so from different countries. One is from Austria, it's called unverschwendet, unwasted. So what they do in the material side, there is a lot of materials which don't make it to the retail stores for whatever reason. The tomatoes are too red. There are some others don't have some others are not straight enough or not easy to package. So what they do is they really work with the producers and find out where is surplus. So one year it was asparagus. They were too late, basically. So they were too early. They were too early, and the gastronomy was not prepared. So they used that to package it and to produce jams, chutneys, and so on. So it's for them, it's really to look how can you use what is already there in a better way. And they are increasing. They started doing that in their own kitchen, and now they have partners. And that's the good thing with the partnership. Also, they have partners who are doing that for them. The next one, inspiration, is actually an organization from Spain, which I got to know 2 years ago when the EU versus virus started. I was mentoring when they started Sostenibles. They are connecting the local producers, the small producers, the farmers, also to the people who want to buy healthy food, fresh food. So basically getting, don't have the retail as an intermediate step, but you can order from their website. You can see from which producer it is, and you can get really fresh food and know a lot more about it. And it has been growing. It's really great to see how they are growing, also including other products. They're too expensive. That's the point, of course, that very often in the moment that the healthy ways and the good ways are more costly than the stuff which is produced, and where usually when you go to a supermarket, most of the food which is produced there is optimized for the supermarket, and you can say for the price, from price side, but the producers don't have a good life with it, and that's what we don't see, so we ignore it. But of course we need to change the way on how we produce, and the more people who buy that stuff, the cheaper it will be. So that's some ideas. Farming as a service, it's a an Austrian organization. What they are setting up in the moment is really they want to have the people in the city also enable the people in the city to farm their own food with technology, helping with technology, so that you can basically decide what you want to grow and to grow it in your area. And they use buildings which are already there to do that, and also bring people closer to the harvesting part, but also on an easy way for people to use it. So that's more the using side. And then one side is how do you deal with the leftovers? And I came across Flores, which is a German organization, but they use a biocomposter from Okin. So for them, it was after 2 years, they had their investment back because they were using their catering waste to directly biocompost it and use it then for growing their own food or selling it. So they made really a business from it, and they ensured, of course, in catering is not, is quite often things are leftovers. So they care really not just where the food comes from, also where the food goes to. And that's something where you can also think what can be done. So could be a solution. And that's what we wanted to give as a short inspiration for your group work also, or for the work you'll be doing. And I get back to Vanessa for the exercise.
Yeah, thank you very much for these very interesting examples. And now we actually get to the interactive phase where you are asked to get to action, and we are going to look at the entire value chain of the examples Taisi, the sustainable fruit and jam company, and Canissima, an animal-based company. Basically, they are providing sustainable sourced food in Spain, and we look at the entire value chain of it and define an ecosystem. So from which perspective are we going to look at it? Are we looking at it from the perspective of the university, the school, or from the perspective of the canteen? So, and then how the whole value chain from their perspective looks like and currently. And during these this time now in the breakout session, where we look at the whole value and supply chain and fill in each step of the canvas. So the first 3 steps of this list, and then we gather together and present our insights. And what comes next is for an exercise that you can do then at home and look at the main challenges and how to develop a better future system for that. But we get more into depth after that. And now we are going to share the mural platform where we are going to work together. So in the meantime, so you see here in the chat the mural platform. And yeah, how many of you know already mural?
Or asking the other way around, who doesn't know it? Is there anyone who hasn't worked with mural so far? Or Miro, which is a similar tool?
So basically, you see here the mural. It's a tool where we can work collaboratively on it, and you have here the whole value chain for the plant-based system and the animal-based system, and we will form now 2 groups and work together on looking at the whole value chain. You see on the left side, you see the steps of the value chain, what it means in case you want to look deeper into it, and here how to add post-its. You can click on the left side and add a sticky note and put it then on the step of the value and supply chain. And what we are going to look at during the whole exercise is actually, we look at the points like food, we look at how is that currently, where's it coming from, and we look at packaging, what is the how it is packaged, and the facilities, and which challenges are already arising during this current system. Yeah, so for that we form how many groups, where it's perhaps good to work with two groups in 2 rooms, and one will work on the case study TAISI, the Sustainable Fruit and Jam Company, which is plant-based system, and one on the animal-based food system with the case study Carnissima. Yeah, you will be allocated to a room, and yeah, room number 1 will work on the food plant-based system, and room number 2 on the animal-based system.
Is there any question? Because if you are trying to find your way on Zoom, there's an outline. So if you use the outline, let me just briefly.
So maybe we can, so now you will split into groups, and how much time we will have? Or you will be in both rooms so we can keep interacting?
One of us will be in one room.
Yeah, we will have 20 minutes.
Okay, and if you're around, we can ask.
Yeah, we will be.
I can first. Yeah, I can let you choose the rooms, but of course, if everyone wants to look at the plant-based solution, then it won't work. So please, let me start the sessions, and then you can choose, and we will see who's there, so that we have a good mix in both parts. So that one group can start looking at the plant-based solution, and the other group can start looking at the animal-based solution. And you don't need to be knowing everything. It's more kind of getting a good understanding there. And for the challenges, for example, like mentioned, if I say it's too expensive or the price is a problem, that would be something you can look at later on, also how to overcome that or what needs to happen.
Okay, so we can already choose, right? Can you see the 2 options? I can already see, so
we have.
Yes.
People in each room. Okay, so I will go to room.
Welcome back to, I hope you had, very creative sessions on looking at the value chain. And now we're going to share what we, our insights and ideas. So, maybe I suggest we start with group 1 with the plant-based example, TAISI. So, Audrey.
I can start.
Mm-hmm.
So, starting with the ecosystem, we chose to look at universities. And sorry, one second. Too many screens open. So with the design, we talked about first off, disseminating information to students, so educating people and giving information to students about how to reduce waste in their own lives, how to cook using like food scraps, produce scraps. And also it's important to look at the cost of sustainable and organic produce compared to conventional produce. So that's where the design comes in also, to make it more affordable to eat sustainable food. And that kind of is also related to chemicals and pesticides, which we talked about with the, what was that one called? In the materials section. And then, sorry, I'm trying to find each section is called. In the manufacturing, we were talking about packaging. So instead of wrapping fruit and vegetables in plastic, wrapping it in compostable or biodegradable materials, or maybe not even wrapping it at all. Sometimes they don't need any packaging. And then with distribution, we talked about eating local, so using plant-based products that come from countries where weather is better, soil is overexploited. I think that means like looking at soil health as well, and yeah, eating local, so not transporting food from faraway countries. And that ties into the eating seasonally. So with the section called use, we talked about designing menus that are related to fruit and vegetable seasonality. So I'll stop there and have someone else take over the rest of it.
Hello, everybody. I can continue to present that case. So we were thinking also in the take back to be able to make a doggy bag or something like that, to use to put in a box, self box or a dedicated box, the food that we didn't finish. After that, for the reuse, having the possibility to prepare cheaper leftover boxes for the students with the already cooked food to avoid to throw it away, or with the food leftover, the food waste, using a dedicated collection for further valorization in compost or in producing compost of biogas, and eventually use compost in the garden of university. So more or less, it was all the idea we had on this case. I don't know if someone has any comments.
Yeah.
I think you did great. Thanks for presenting this case.
Super, yeah. If you have any comments, questions, feel free to raise. Yeah, feel free to speak, or otherwise we move to the next case, the animal-based value chain.
Yes, we didn't dig so much into the solutions already. We dig more into understanding what are the special parts, and we also need to set up our ecosystem internally on with all the setups. So maybe Marta or Hugo, you can share a little bit what we discussed.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we were analyzing the process basically of the food who were on the canteen, on some canteens. We had some examples, for example, sausage. We took sausage, for example, and we asked ourselves, okay, where does it come from? How is it made? How is it transported to the canteen? How is it stored? How is it stored? Later on, we took the example of of the fish. So where does it come from, etc. So it comes from the fishing process. Then we have the fish fillets. Then we transport with sort of cooled trucks with ice cubes on it in order to keep the fish fresh. And then they are going to be cooked and then offered, served for the people who eat in the canteen. And then for the leftover, we had some difficulties. We thought to ourselves that maybe the fish could be reserved if they are still fresh, but we didn't go further on that question. More or less, it's what we worked on.
Marta, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think, sorry, I don't put my camera because the connection is a bit unstable. So if I put the camera, it will be a bit. But yeah, I mean, as Andrea said, like we didn't go too much to the solutions, but I think we pointed out some of the key challenges, like how to plan properly, like the menus. So the canteen buys enough food, but not too much, and how much is cooked in the daily menu, so there are not much leftovers. Yeah, like what to do with the leftovers, like either there is a plan of like, if we cook this today, like we can plan to cook, to recycle it in the following day menu, but it needs to be like properly stored or keep fresh. Or maybe having some, I don't know, like agreements with other organizations. So what is left from their menu, it can be given to other, I don't know, like canteens that have maybe serve food later on. That was, I think, one of the key challenges, and also like the steps between the producers and the consumers, because that's something we didn't have much, like we didn't know very well like how many steps there are between when the food is produced. So we were talking about meat. So since the step one in the farm until the stick of beef stick is served in the canteen, like how many steps there are in between, and how many steps could be saved. So yeah, I think that's more or less what I wanted to highlight. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that we discussed also that there are some more challenges, of course, with the animal-based food, also with passing it on and using it afterwards, and the leftovers and storage and everything. Then you would have with the plant-based food, of course. Yeah, it's a lot harder, and that's what comes out when you look at the value chain, yeah, in more detail.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I hope you got some good insights into how the value chain can look like currently. And basically, as a next steps, we are going to look into the solution side. You looked. The plant-based group, we was so creative. We came up with so many solutions already. So to look into that more and develop that for how can from now on a value chain for the plant-based sector look like ideally, and for the animal-based sector as well, like looking at the challenges, how can we improve that and make it as sustainable as possible. And that's the tasks basically for the solution. So that's actually the tasks to develop within the next weeks, and then it can it will be pitched. So you can work either in groups or individually as you prefer. And we will also one tool further to use that can be supportive of that is the partner map, which Andreas will share a little bit how to use that to work with the with your exercise during the next week.
I need to unmute myself. So on the one side, the exercise you can see here also on the mural, which is the future system. So you can decide which systems you want to look at. You don't need to use the one we just discussed, but of course, the main thing is to look at what are the challenges, what are opportunities or new elements you can add to the value chain, or where to look at and how to improve it, and to really get a bit more on the territory side also to understand that better. We quite often use the partner map. So the partner map is, the steps are similar or not similar, are the same like we discussed here. So there's a, you can see it also on the screen, on the mural. So the individual steps, and that helps to understand how local is actually this step. So what's coming, you can see it here, what's coming really from the local area, so from the area around, really from the same city or very close by, what's from the region. And as we're looking in the Mediterranean region, so that's then more the, oops, someone's moving something around. Okay. Let me just lock it here. And I think I need to put it right. And or is it something which is coming from somewhere else? So especially for fruits or for vegetables that sometimes can come from further away, or the questions also for the steaks or for the fish, where does it come from? So that's something you can use to further elaborate on your value chain. And you can of course also use it to, in general, to work out your value chain.
Are there any questions?
Especially when you're working with a group, you can use that also to separate and to dig out, understand a bit more, because you can use Carnissima or TIC as case studies to find some information, the supplementary information which Maria has shared, and you can use that to really understand, okay, how are they doing that? And of course, sometimes you will need to take some assumptions.
Yeah, and I may add, probably to go more deeper into it, it would be nice if you define, instead of like the context, which is also nice, but to be able to further develop on that, it's better to pick a product, right? To be more specific. So, because maybe plans in general are like too general but maybe if you decide to pick a more specific case study, it's nicer to further detail potential solutions or improvements. Yeah. And it can be done in here, right? In the same mural, or you can copy this into a Word document or whatever, and yeah, work on this little assignment.
If you need a mural for your group, please let us know, and we can create one which you can use so that you're not confused with what the others write. But you can also use you can also use others.
Yeah, are there any questions?
Maybe we could add, Andreas, I was thinking to remember that and I was almost forgetting, the 11th, right, on Monday. Monday 11th, Andreas will be active through the forum. If you had time already to think about it and you want to ask some questions or just double check before giving the small presentation on Wednesday, yeah, you can also do that time.
And of course, I'll be there on Wednesday also to give you some feedback or some ideas. And I'm very curious to hear about where you see the potential or where you want to have some changes in the system. And yeah, if there's anything up front, I may look into the forum before, but on Monday I'll definitely look into it. So, and give some answers. Any other question from that, or?
You explain it very well. No questions. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
If there is no further questions, I think we finished the session.